Never seen a lame man walk, never heard a dumb man talk, never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his name. Never seen a canceled death, never seen all the poor get fed, never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his name. Made whole. Never seen it often find a
Hey, buddy! Hey, I'm scared, Clint.
It scared me.
What is happening? It is time once again. It is time once again as my earpiece falls out for the Big C and Bigger T podcast. We are here ready to light it up. Clint Clark, the man, the myth, the legend. What is happening, man?
Nothing at all. Nothing. I just sit here hanging out. Oh, wait, I forgot to start my stopwatch. Let's go ahead. That way we know when to shut up.
Okay. Well, hey, man. Yeah, we went a little long last week. Dude, last week was a great show.
It was. Got a lot of positive feedback from Gabe.
My boy Patrick came through. Made us look smarter.
Man,
That's good.
And you know what? We kind of had a general idea where we were going. Like, we hadn't planned any of the Jeff Long talk. It was a natural conversation with somebody who's in the business, and I enjoyed having it. We made a few we picked on Travis a little bit because he overslept. I took a nap. He's about 15 minutes late.
I got home. I got home, sat down in my big chair, turned on TV. I'm like, all right, I got a few minutes. Next thing I know, it's like 7:07. I don't have my computer set up. I don't have anything set up. We were supposed to, and I got all these missed calls on my phone. My phone was on vibrate. I'm a big dummy, folks. That's okay.
He's a big dumb animal, isn't he, folks?
Hey, but how about our boy Bobby B, Robert Branscombe, with Hometown Roofing?
Tommy Robbie himself
came out today that Hometown Roofing is in the top 4 in Faulkner County. Top 4, baby, in their first year of business. Very new roofers in Faulkner County. And so there's a way, if you'll look up Hometown Roofing on Facebook, you can go vote for Hometown Roofing. He's got a link on there. You can go vote to get them to number 1. So let's do that.
Because 2 is not a winner, and 3 nobody remembers.
That's right.
Should be a Nelly song.
It should. It should be.
It should be a Nelly song.
It should be. What happened to Nelly anyway?
I don't know. But I saw him. He was at a Cardinals game drinking a Bud Light one time. I saw him.
Oh, good.
They were like, everybody's like, "Ooh, it's Nelly."
Did he have a Band-Aid on his forehead? Or his cheek?
I don't think he did. He might have. I don't know. It's been a minute, and I've slept since then. Yeah. I've been oxygen deprived a few times. So.
Well, Clint, let's see if I can do this. The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! Clint Clark.
Ooh.
And Super Fights on Saturday night. I was eyewitness to the man, the myth, the legend, taking the victory in overtime.
I was exhausted.
In his jiu-jitsu super fight.
Yeah.
He went out there, fought hard, man. It was tired. I know you were tired, dude. I can tell.
Yeah. Dude, here's how tired I was. I think you know this, but I can't remember if you remember. So we finish it. You got to wear. I wore my slides to the mat.
Mm-hmm.
We finish. I walked to the back, completely forgot my slides. I was that exhausted.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I had to go out there and wait because I didn't know about it. I was the semi-main event. It wasn't billed as the semi-main event, but I'm calling it that to just make myself feel more important than I am.
You're one of the last ones to go.
The last match, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we were actually the most exciting match, especially at the end.
There was a couple that got a little exciting, but nothing too. Y'all's was one of the best.
Yeah.
Especially the way Clint finished it, y'all. You'd be proud of the boy. He brought out his
Offensive lineman.
His skills as the third best center, or the third string center to ever play in the Sun Belt or whatever, Sun Belt.
Gulf South.
Gulf South at Arkansas Tech.
Yeah.
Man, he bull rushed that dude to the ground 2 times in a row. And
yeah, because it was weird, because basically we finished, first off, every match that night had been 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
I am 6'4", about 290 pounds. Shane Goforth, I believe, is probably about the same height as me, and he's pushing 320 something.
Yeah.
He's a big boy, and I'm a big boy too. So I'm 45, he's 42.
Yeah.
So we get out there, and they put 7 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
I was like, whose idea is this crap?
Yeah.
We had agreed in the back to go for 3 minutes, and like the kids. So we get out there and we do that, and we finished 7 minutes just exhausted.
Yeah.
Because while there's not a lot of action, it doesn't look. I mean, there's a lot of like arm play and grip play. And I'm trying to get out of his guard. He's trying to sweep, but there's a lot of stuff going on that people didn't see. And then,
yeah, you're using muscles that we don't see them being used because we don't. But
right,
you're trying to fight grips everywhere.
Yeah. So they stand us up at the end of 7 minutes, and the first one to secure a takedown wins.
Yeah. And
so I went for a couple, and if you force the opponent off the mat 3 times, and there's once I just stepped off the mat, not even thinking.
Yeah.
And so it was two force off the mats, 2 fourths off the mats, and I'd actually taken him down, and he landed out of bounds.
Yeah.
There's a big white thing in the back that everybody thought was a screen. I hear somebody going, protect the screen. It's cheaper to replace the table, because me and him are flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a screen. That was a concrete wall. I know, because I hit it.
There's a concrete wall behind it. There was a screen, though.
Oh, was it? I don't know. I just felt the concrete.
There was a screen over it. There's a concrete wall behind it. Yeah. Because
I just thought I
think a church meets there. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, dude, this is my first time to ever go to one. Okay. So it was kind of new to me. And the only struggle I had, like, I knew what was going on pretty well. I just don't know what to cheer.
Right. Yeah.
Like I was trying to cheer for you, but I was kind of like, I'm going to say something and look like a blooming idiot. You know what I mean? Like they're going to look at me and say, yeah, this guy don't know what jiu-jitsu is. Yeah. So I would just say like very general stuff. But I tell you what fired me up was at the end when you got him down a couple of times during the overtime deal when y'all were going at it, and you came up and you had the crazy eyes, man. I remember when we were kids, you'd get ticked off at me and those crazy eyes, and you'd be looking up off in the distance somewhere, and you'd be those crazy eyes. I was like, Clint's into this.
Yeah,
he's fired up right now. So that was cool to see. It was cool to see you fired up like that. It's fun to watch you. Fun to watch you win. We had a fun time cheering for you, and it was good, man. It was good. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I do, and I appreciate Robert and Wesley. They both came out. Cisco, my wife, there's a couple other guys from the gym. I thank everybody for coming out. It was fun. Goforth did beat me in a tournament, and I beat him in the super fight. So we've got to run it back at some point.
Yeah.
And
he was a nice guy.
Oh, great guy. I mean, absolutely great guy. He's definitely got my respect.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that was the cool thing about it, because I mean, y'all are in intense battles there, But what's so cool about MMA stuff like that is normally, especially in like tournaments like that, the respect that you have for each other after you get through.
Yeah. Because
you can very easily get ticked off at the person, just because.
I've never got mad at another competitor. I usually get mad at myself. Like when Shane beat me in Conway in February, I thought I'd screwed up and I'd let myself down. And I was mad at me. I wasn't mad at him. And I'm like, okay, I've got to fix this. And it can serve as motivation.
Well, congratulations, man. Now, one of the reasons, and one of the things that you've always been a big fan of, you've been a bigger fan than me, but I've grew up a big fan of also, is professional wrestling.
I love it.
We've been, like you were consistent. Like in high school, I wasn't much of a fan. Like I missed the Ultimate Warrior days, and like I didn't really watch it then. But you were consistent, getting pay-per-views with your granddad and all that kind of stuff. But someone we both know and watched a lot of matches passed away this week. Beautiful Bobby. Talk about it.
Bobby Eaton, yeah.
Yeah.
And man, when you're kids, and man, you talked about this. I can't tell you who some of the main event players were, because back then the wrestling had their territories.
Yeah.
And here at Arkansas, I think it was based out of Oklahoma, maybe Dallas. I don't think it wasn't. It was Mid-South.
It was based out of Memphis, Mid-South.
Mid-South. It was all around. Memphis had their own territory.
But at one time they would wrestle. They would alternate in Memphis and Little Rock.
Yeah.
But then they would go down to Shreveport a little bit too.
Right. So they would they had like a territory, and man, the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express was the match. You hated the Midnight Express.
Oh yeah.
You hated them. Like I couldn't stand. I think back then it was Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton was the Midnight Express. Later on, during the WCW days, it was Stan Lane.
Yeah.
And
beautiful Bobby just had that blonde hair.
Beautiful mullet.
So beautiful mullet. He just looked cocky, right? He just looked, you looked at him, you're like, and then they had stupid Jim Cornette with his tennis racket, and his suit, loud mouth, and man, you just love to hate them.
Yeah, they were great.
But they would put together, but now that I look back on it and I think about, now that I know a little bit more on the backside of wrestling, and some of that is because, in case y'all don't know, Clint used to wrestle, and we had a mutual friend that actually got him into wrestling.
Yep.
That I introduced him to, and we did some shows together. Like I never got into the wrestling part of it. I never wanted to. I didn't want to take that many falls. And the first practice you do as a wrestler is practice falling, and I just didn't want to do that. But I would go do PA, like at some of the shows, do announcing and stuff like that, or just hang out in the back. Or whatever.
Now, which one was more exciting, when you watched me get my hair cut in Mountain Pine when you were the ring announcer, which it turned out to be a catastrophe.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was fun. But what had happened was, my buddy Matt Nelson, I was supposed to be in his wedding this weekend, or like the next weekend.
Yeah.
And I'd agreed to do a hair versus hair match. So, but then I did. So my plan was, back then I could grow a nice head of hair. So I had a nice, juicy haircut. And I said, well, what we'll do is we'll cut it to about like this. We'll put the number 1, number 2 guard on there, and y'all just cut it off and just butcher it, and we'll get to the back and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, through the course of the match, I'd gotten really sweaty. And all these kids hated my guts.
Yeah.
So once I got pinned and I had to get my hair cut, all these kids surrounded the ring and were slapping that, and they're trying to cut my hair. I think we're actually using your clippers too. Is what's funny.
I think so. I think I brought my clippers from.
Yeah, I brought mine, and
because I was in college at OBU. Yeah.
That's how you just cut your hair back in the day.
That's
and so that's how I cut my hair now. Yeah. So they're trying to cut my hair, and it's not cutting. It's just, because I'm sweaty. And I thought, well, maybe I'll roll out of the ring and I'll run to the back and I'll get it dried off, and we'll come out there and cut it later. And then Scotty's like, take the guard off. And I cover my mouth, just shave the sides, man. And so I had to go with this. I had to go to the wedding with like a funky military haircut that I don't wear really well. Kind of like this, length on the top, shaved on the sides. And Matt's like, why would you do this? I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't plan on it. Why would you agree to this? I'm like, I'm really sorry.
if you remember that same show, me and my buddy Brett Moore, I was doing the announcing. He was hanging out with me, and he was my roommate at Washita. And we were sitting off to the side of it's in an old gym. Well, the big draw that night was Moondog Spot.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of Moondog Spot, he's an old WWF. He got the tag team championship back in the day. Like, this guy was old school wrestling to a T. Like, he came out, he had his own song, the Moondog. Oh. Anyway, he had a big Santa Claus beard, big old beer gut, cauliflower head from cutting himself so many times.
Yeah, it's like a little handhold.
Yeah. Well, somehow backstage, he found a drawer from a locker, or I mean, from a file cabinet, or like a desk or something, like a big metal drawer. Okay, long metal drawer. And he comes out, and there's like metal chairs around each side of on the gym floor, around each side of the ring. And kids could, like you said, they were coming up to the ring and stuff. Well, he comes out and he starts swinging that drawer around, and like all the people were like scared. They were like running into the bleachers and stuff. And I told Brett that was sitting back there with me, we were kind of sitting away because the mic cord wouldn't go very far. I said, now, if he comes over here, we got to act like we're scared and run away from him. We can't just sit here and laugh at him.
Right, yeah.
So we got to play it up. And Brett's like, oh, okay. And so he wrestles the match, knocks the dude out with the drawer, starts leaving, and sees us. And I'm like, oh, crap, here he comes. Get ready. I said, I'm going to leave this mic on so it's more dramatic. So when I dropped the mic, it would hit the table and make it.
Right, yeah, make the
reverb and stuff. So I was going to make, I'm in the game here. I'm trying to help the show out a little bit.
Yeah. And
so he comes over there and he slings that thing back, and I drop the mic, and me and Brett, it's just the wooden bleachers. And so we just take off, he takes that drawer and hits that bleacher right next to my foot. Clint, your boy bounded 4 bleachers at a time to get to the top of that.
Did a little pee come out when he did that?
Oh, no more. A lot of pee came out. Like, I thought Moondog Spot done killed this fat boy. Like, Moondog thinks he's treeing a raccoon or something. This is a big old raccoon. Dude, I was scared. Like,
I bet so.
I thought he thinks I'm so big. He thinks I'm a regular wrestler, like that he can just hit me with this thing, And I was like, oh man, I'm gone. And then our buddy Lynn was backstage, and Moondog went back there. He said, who's that guy announcing? He said, oh, that's my buddy Travis. He said, does he work? Meaning, does he wrestle?
Right. Yeah.
He said, no, he said he can do a little bit, but, he'll take a bump or something, but nothing, he said, well, he needs to. He moves for a big guy. I was like, you would move too. I thought.
You thought I had crazy eyes. Moondog got
no
crazy
Moondog.
eyes.
When you got a cauliflower thing on your forehead to mix with
because
the
first time I met him, it's one of them deals. It's kind of like the Scary Movie 2, where he's got the strong hand.
Yeah.
He's like, don't stare at it. Don't stare at it. So you're trying
dude, that thing stuck out 2 inches at least.
Oh,
like,
it was
massive.
I mean, the entire, because he ran a weekly show in Osceola, which if you've never been to Osceola, you go to Memphis and take a left.
Yeah.
It's pretty much how you get there. That's the exact directions. Y'all, when you just take a left, you might run into some water.
If you hit St. Louis, you went too far. Yeah.
If you see an arch, you went too far, my friends.
Right. That's right.
But man, Beautiful Bobby, we love to hate Beautiful Bobby.
Yeah.
Right. We love to hate the Midnight Express. So me and Travis, in the spirit of Beautiful Bobby, because everybody regards Beautiful Bobby as literally the nicest guy in pro wrestling. Now that he, I mean, even before then, he's the type of guy, he'd come to the shows, he'd bring extra towels so the guy would have towels.
Yeah.
He would bring extra socks.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho was talking about, he goes, man, he goes, beautiful Bobby, when I get to heaven, have some black socks waiting on you, boy.
Yeah.
But he's like, so I was like, man, what'd be fun is our top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time.
That's
the
right.
Guys we love to cheer for. We love to cheer against beautiful Bobby. That may be a subject for another day.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not saying the greatest wrestlers of all time, because
no.
You said the greatest wrestlers of all time. We might be a different list, but who was our favorites? And I'm, in my mind, I'm thinking back to me on some of these. I'm thinking back to me as a kid and my buddies. Like, who did I pretend I was on the trampoline or in the backyard or whatever playing? So that's what we're doing. You ready for this? We're doing our top 5. We'll start with 5 and work our way down. Now we core list. You don't know what the term core list means. It means like, I think Tommy Smith and them came up with that term, but it's pretty much like if you're going to talk about the best basketball player ever at Arkansas, it's Corliss Williamson. There's no argument.
Yeah.
So might as well not even argue that. So in this one, we correlate Ric Flair. Me and Clint both would agree Ric Flair's the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah, no one's been the total package more than Ric Flair.
He's one you love to watch. He's one that no matter how you look at wrestling, if you look at it from the technical side, if you look at it from entertainment side, Ric Flair's the man, hands down. We're not going to argue that. Some of you maybe saying, what? We're saying Ric Flair. Okay, so my number 5. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Andre the Giant.
Andre's a good one.
Andre the Giant.
I never was a huge Andre fan.
I was a big fan of his. I used to love when he would do the handicap matches.
I got itch.
Where he would take on like 2 guys at once. Yeah. Especially with remember he did that midget handicap, him and Big John Studd had like 2 midget partners each. Well, and I hated Big John Studd. So that's the other reason. That's the other reason I liked Andre the Giant, because I always hated Big John Studd.
See, what's funny is I debated on my list putting Bobby the Brain Heenan in there.
Oh, yeah.
I think because he's the greatest. I mean, but he made that feud. You wanted to see you want to see Andre get his hands on Big John Studd because Heenan was such a good manager.
And Andre was so huge. Big John Studd was the only one that could stand up to him just about.
And
King Kong Bundy had a little run with him. But
and I loved watching the Andre documentary and Hulk Hogan talking about he hated Randy Savage.
Yeah.
He would be like, he said, Randy walk, he'd go, get out. No baby oil. Get out.
Yeah.
And he just but no, and he was in WrestleMania 1, had the $10,000 body slam challenge with Big John Studd.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 3, at the time, the most attended, I think,
Superdome, baby. Superdome.
The Michigan Superdome. Yeah. And where him and Hogan did it, and
he let Hogan slam him.
Had a good match. They had a decent match for what it was. So
I mean, and Andre the Giant, you're not going to get him as the best technical wrestler ever or anything like that. He was what he was. He was a huge guy. He was the 8th wonder of the world.
Yeah.
But me being always the big kid, that's who the other ones would compare me to. I debated. I had a lot of people at 5. Okay, like I debated Kevin Nash. I debated. Well, I'm not going to say because I don't want to say who I left.
Right? Yeah.
Who I left out. Who's your number 5?
Kevin Nash was a good one.
Hacksaw
Jim Duggan.
He's on my list later, so I'm gonna talk about him now.
Sorry, buddy. Well, we had discussed a little bit earlier, and I know 2 of the ones that you're putting on your list, and I left them off mine because I knew you put them on there. I knew we discussed them, but I loved Hacksaw. when I first started watching wrestling, he was kind of the draw.
Yeah.
It was, you know, he was the guy. He was feuding with Ted DiBiase before Ted DiBiase became the $1 Million Man. Later on, he became he carried the American flag. Always had the 2x4.
Yeah.
He for a little while in WCW, they had made him like pro-Canadian, and the reason why they did that was because he played in the Canadian Football League, which was really dumb. And he hated it. He said it cost him a lot of money on the independent.
Yeah.
Because people want all-American hacksaw.
Yeah.
And he's done several other projects. He's still in pretty good shape. He did Legends House a few years ago, which was a pretty entertaining show.
Yeah.
But
it's a hacksaw.
Yeah, he's definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about him later.
All right.
Well, no, actually, you know what? I don't have him on my list. Never mind. So
okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hacksaw deserves to be on there. I forgot I put someone else on there. But Hacksaw definitely. Here's my next one. You ready? Number 4.
Yeah, go ahead.
Terry Taylor.
The Red Rooster himself.
The Red Rooster. But back when he was in WCW, when Mid-South.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorites when he was in Mid-South. Right. And then he had a little run when he was the one in Atlanta. Was it WCW before? But when the Four Horsemen were there, Arn Anderson, all them, before it became WCW. But he had a little run. Him and Flair had a little run against each other.
Yeah, Terry was a good-looking guy.
He was just
masculine,
all-American kind of guy.
Yeah, he's just
and
bleach blonde. He's actually still around. He works for NXT.
Really?
WWE, yeah.
And him and Sting were tag team partners at first, and then they kind of went their separate ways.
I don't remember that, but I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot about wrestling, but I'm not the foremost authority. I used to always upset my college roommate because whenever wrestling would come on Monday nights, I'd flip back and forth between Raw and Nitro.
Yeah.
And it'd get on their nerves to the point where they hid the remote from me.
Yeah.
So
all right, who's your number 4?
Number 4, I'm going with the Phenom himself. When you hear that gong, it's the Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember the Undertaker when he was Mean Mark Callis.
Yeah.
Real name's Mark Calloway. But I remember he was Mean Mark Callis, and then I remember him debuted. I'm like, oh, it's Mean Mark Callis. And then he completely transformed for years and years. Now he updated the character through the years to keep it fresh and entertaining.
Yeah.
And when the nostalgia thing came, cool, he went back to being the dead man, the Undertaker, and he played it well. And now the difference between the Undertaker and the other guys that we mentioned, Terry Taylor can wrestle. Is Undertaker is the best big man of all time.
Yeah.
Period, bar none. Guys his size, his height should not be able to do what he did.
Yeah. You're right.
And he, and him and Shawn Michaels, the matches they had at WrestleMania.
And that's the thing. A lot of times, big guys, like say a Kevin Nash, I liked Kevin Nash, but I liked him more for his character than I did his wrestling, because Kevin Nash couldn't really do good matches against smaller guys.
No,
very well, because he was kind of stiff. He was better against bigger guys, against the Goldbergs and people like that. But I think you're right. Undertaker could. All right, you ready for my next one?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm going to go by his regular name, but he's got many. Mick Foley.
Oh.
Dude Love.
Cactus
Jack.
Mankind. Mrs. Foley's baby boy.
That's right. Man, I have so much respect for him. He's a guy. Well, I mean, he always would go to extremes, do crazy stuff, and he would. And the thing was, he's a guy that's done all that without, like, if you watch documentaries on him, he didn't treat his family bad. He hasn't had dealt with, drug addiction like a lot of these guys have. He's just a solid guy. Like, no one says bad things about him.
And what I love about Mick is now he's done what me and you've done with this podcast. Me and you needed a creative outlet.
Yeah.
We came up with this podcast for Gabe to listen to. And her moms. Gabe's and her mom. And a few other people apparently. But we come up with this podcast. Mick Foley started his stand-up career now.
Yeah. He keeps trying different things.
He's a great storyteller. And I tell you,
he's smart, man.
Well, he wrote his book himself. Wrote it. Yeah. And he was talking about it in his second book, because I read his books, and he's talking about, they had a ghostwriter that was originally going to do it. And he started describing things. That's not how my dad is at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, no, let me. And so he's like, let me just write down. He started writing it down, and it was fantastic. New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
Anyway.
And he could go hardcore legend. I remember watching his death match. They were doing the King of the Death Match tournament in Japan. He gets a hunk of barbed wire. This is back when I was wrestling. We were watching this stuff. He gets a piece of barbed wire stuck in his tricep. He goes to pull it, and you see the skin, pulling, coming with it. So he finally just reaches up like a man and pulls it out. And you see blood just starts gushing out. I'm like, ah. And literally one of the sweetest individuals you'll ever meet.
Yeah. Well, when we got to meet him at that Cersei show that time.
Yeah.
I still have a Polaroid picture with him and what was her name?
I wasn't at that.
Molly. Holly.
Yeah.
Because Crash Holly had died, and they wanted he couldn't afford a tombstone for it. And so they were selling Polaroids. You get your Polaroid with Mick and with Molly for $10, and the money went to get Crash So anyway, and that tells you, folks, these wrestlers didn't make a lot of money.
No. They were talking about on Bobby Eaton, they were doing a GoFundMe to pay for his funeral. Yeah. And they've actually raised that and then some. So I mean,
they'll pay for it, man.
Yeah, I think Chris.
Your number 3.
Man, the man called Sting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, WCW, Mick Foley and Sting, that was a big feud.
Yeah.
And, man, and, we've correlated Ric Flair. And if you ask Ric Flair who his greatest, I mean, Ric Flair's got a lot of greatest opponents, but Sting might be the guy. I mean, the icon Sting.
Yeah.
He didn't have that great of a run in WWE, but it was at the tail end of his career because he didn't trust them with his character.
Yeah.
And he may be right, but he was the franchise of WCW. He was one of the guys that was WCW all the way through. Then he went to TNA, had a good run. But I remember Sting. It was Sting and the Ultimate Warrior. They were Rock and Sting. They were the Blade Runners. And they were just two big muscled up guys that were working out together in Venice. And then Jim Hellwig, who's
Sting could actually wrestle, and Ultimate Warrior couldn't.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior could pose and say weird, crazy things. And Sting's taken apart in some bad angles too. Like he got saved by RoboCop. One time, there's another bad one I had in my head that I just thought of. But man, people would tune in to like TV tapings or like their TV specials to watch him and Ric Flair, and they could go for 60 minutes, and it was just him and they had Sting, Ric Flair, last ever wrestling match, last ever Monday Nitro match, Sting versus Ric Flair. Ric Flair was not in Ric Flair shape. He wrestled in a shirt, and he probably needed to. But yeah, Sting. I love Sting. He was.
Yeah.
You know, he was the bright, vibrant colors, bleach blonde with a little rat tail.
Yeah.
And then he came back the Crow, and
Yeah.
he's kind of tweaked it through the years.
Yeah.
I love when I was Sting. I love Sting, and everybody wanted to see Sting beat Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
That was the one that everybody, when it was Hollywood Hogan, Sting's the one that everybody wanted to see.
Yeah.
Finally be the guy to beat Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. My number 2.
Ooh, we're up to number 2.
The Rock and Roll Express.
I love it.
I put them as one. Yeah, I put them as one person.
No, you're good because I cheated on my number 2 too.
But they had ultimate mullets.
Beautiful.
They had the bandanas tied around their legs and arms. You know, they had the vest, the leather vest they would wear. You know, the spandex pants, they pretty much look like David Lee Roth from Van Halen. That's what they dressed like. And then they had the dadgum double drop kick, baby. You can't beat the double drop kick.
And they're still wrestling today.
Are they? Man.
They're both 172 years old, and they're still, no, they're probably both. Ricky Morton's running the school somewhere in Tennessee, I believe, called the School of Morton. No, they were on mine, and I remember going. I had a cousin who was an older lady, but named Donna. She's still alive, so I couldn't say I had. She's still my cousin. So I'd go there. I want the hair. I want a haircut like Ricky Morton. I wanted the Rock and Roll Express haircut, but my hair is naturally curly, so it'd curl up in the back. So I never could. I never could grow a good mullet. Now, my cousin, he grew the most beautiful mullet, and he shaved stripes in the side. I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I was so jealous.
That's the way I was. Mine curled up too. I had the. Of course, you know that was also back in the day when people would get the perm in the back of their hair. You know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of looked like I had a perm in the back of my hair, but
it wasn't.
Yeah,
it just
wasn't the same.
No,
it wasn't the same as Rock and Roll Express, but Rock and Roll Express, man, I was a kid. I would jump, do drop kicks on my couch, on my bed. You know, it's just, you know, if you're wrestling with your buddies, you're tag teaming. That's who you wanted to be. Rock and Roll Express, number 2. Who you got, number 2?
Number 2, I've got D-Generation X.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm talking about, and the reason I did this, because I wanted Shawn Michaels and Triple H both on the list.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, I mean, X-Pac, China, the New Age Outlaws, yeah, they're all well and good.
Yeah.
But Shawn Michaels is maybe the best in-ring performer in the history of wrestling.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 3 had Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat, who, in my opinion, was the greatest wrestling match in the history of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Up until the first Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then they topped it.
Those are some good matches.
And Triple H, because he's married to Stephanie McMahon, is never going to get the credit he deserves. And Triple H, he tore his quad at the end of a match and finished the match. And I mean, he's just one of the toughest guys in the world.
Yeah.
He did it once and finished the match. Then Kevin Nash actually did the same thing and just fell down and crumpled over.
Yeah.
Triple H did it again, toward the other quad a few years later. And he did it, the last time he did it, it was at the end of the match.
Yeah.
This time he did it at the beginning and finished the match, wrestled the entire match with a torn quad. So didn't call it short. I mean, finished the match. I mean, he's a tough son of a gun. And I don't think he ever gets, I mean, because of who his father-in-law is, he doesn't get the credit for how good he is or was. Yeah. And Triple H is, they're both great wrestlers, and they both great on the mic. You know, it's just good characters evolved through the years. So,
well, here we go. My number 1, the number 1 wrestler of my childhood, of my life, the guy that I would mimic his finishing move In fact, I've put people on their knees using his finishing move. My boy, Jyd the Junkyard Dog.
Oh, I love
Dude, the
Jyd.
headbutt. Dude, I literally have headbutted people to the ground before. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I remember him and Hacksaw Butch Reed, some of the great feuds.
Yep.
Great feuds.
He'd get on the ground. He'd have that big chain on. He'd get on the ground. He'd headbutt him and shit like a big bulldog. Man, I love JYD, man. He'd get in there and get fired up. And make that like growl face. Man, when I was a kid, JYD was my man. I had the JYD thumb wrestler. I still got it somewhere. It's in a box somewhere. I kept it as a kid. But it's like they had these thumb wrestlers. They had a little hole in the back. You could put your thumb in, and then you could another person would have them, and you could little thumb wrestle with them.
Oh, no, I've got a funny story about those thumb wrestlers.
You do?
So mom and dad bought me and Paul, my brother Paul, who is the cheapest man alive, bought us these thumb wrestlers. And one was Hulk Hogan, and the other one was Roddy Piper, and the other one had Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd. Mm-hmm. I got Big John Studd, and I was so mad because I wanted Roddy Piper, and I started crying. It was got to the point mom and dad went back to the store and exchanged it to get two that had Roddy Piper. I'm going to tell you, I was a baby.
That was last Christmas, right?
Yeah, that was
2020.
All
right, so my number one, JYD. Look, a lot of people wouldn't have him number one. I understand that.
No.
But for me, if you ask me what wrestler, look, he's it. He was it for me.
Ready for my number one, Big T?
I'm ready. I don't know who it is.
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
I love Chris Jericho.
Really?
The way he acted back in the day, his character in WCW, he just, because he said, man, it was like the Wild Wild West. They just didn't care what I did. So I just went out there and did whatever. He'd found this guy with like one tooth, had like a tooth hanging down. And they named him Ralphus. And he put him in a cut-off white shirt that said Jericho Personal Security.
Yeah.
And he was just the most ridiculous. And he kept challenging Goldberg. Yeah. And Goldberg was just a giant, and they had no interest in putting Jericho in there with him.
Yeah.
And now, and go back and watch it now. When Jericho gets so frustrated, leaves WCW and goes to WWE, they debut him against The Rock, and they basically give him a microphone to go against The Rock and just go out there and just interact off each other, and he holds his own with The Rock. And he's still going today, but he gets his place where he's helping younger wrestlers get over.
Yeah.
First ever undisputed champion in WWE. I mean, he's
good. He's good. He's a surprising number one. But I understand why.
Well, and you know, you can ask Lynn and the guys. That's who I loved. I loved his character. I loved his mic work. He's a great wrestler. Everyone on my list, I think, can go. I think because I've wrestled now a little bit, you've got to be able to wrestle to make my list.
Yeah.
You know, and
right here we go, Clint. We got people, if they're listening, they're like, wait a second, they've gotten from 5 to 1. And there's some people we haven't said.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot I left off.
There's one that I think a lot of people will be like, wait, this guy may be better than Ric Flair. And that's Hulk Hogan.
He's not.
Why would we leave him off our list? Explain to the people.
Okay. Well, the reason he's not on my list is because, frankly, Hulk Hogan's not that good of a worker.
Yeah.
He's just not. He's not. I wasn't a big Hulk Hogan fan at all. I think Hulk Hogan had, and I think Hogan's really selfish. He wrestled. I know he wrestled with Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam, and like he refused to put Shawn Michaels over. And
which means he refused to let Shawn Michaels
win. And there are people interviewing and said, well, Shawn's still here, you know, helping the younger guys, he should go over. And Hogan and Michael said, "Every goes, look, if I work with you, I'm to the point in my career. If I work with you and you're a jerk, I'll just say you're a jerk.
Yeah.
And no, Hogan's a jerk."
Well, and so here's the point of it. He's Hogan got the right push at the right time.
Oh yeah, he was the right guy.
He had the look. He had the mic skills, and Rocky helped him out a lot.
He did.
That being on that movie helped him out a lot, and so that we'll say that we'll just leave it at that on him. Another one, people might say, The Rock. I don't think he had the longevity
Stone Cold.
like some Stone Cold. There's a lot of people would argue him. I understand that, but I think it was our guys that we picked wasn't necessarily just a gimmick.
Yeah,
they wasn't just gimmick guys. Most of them.
See, and if I did a top 25 list, The Rock and Stone Cold would make that list.
Yeah,
I can't tell you Hulk Hogan would.
I tell you one that I had a hard time with was Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah,
because when I was a kid, the Claw, I loved the Claw, dude. I love the Von Erichs would do that Claw, but they died about the time I was getting heavy into wrestling.
Man,
so
it was. And
I didn't have a long time with them.
It's
So
a tragedy. I mean, it's a tragic family. Dusty Rhodes didn't make the list.
Dusty Rhodes, that's
Ricky
another one.
Steamboat.
Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man.
Yeah, I mean, God, that'd be.
There's. And I'll tell you, when it comes to technical wrestlers, my favorite of all time is Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
But I can't put him on the list because of what he did, the way his life ended. A guy, I mean, he's a coward. He killed his wife, and mental illness, whatever it was. That's a tough deal, man. Killed his wife, killed his kid, then killed himself. I can't put him on a list. But when he was wrestling, he was one of mine. Well, man, Clint, so that's our list, folks. We need you to tell us where we went wrong. Put your list. Give us your list. Share it. Put it on Facebook. Put it on our Instagram, on our Twitter, wherever you see this, on the comments on YouTube. Wherever it is, put your list. What's your top 5? Who's your favorite wrestler and why? Okay, share it with us. Let us know where we went wrong. This is Travis's favorites, Clint's favorites. We're not saying they have to be yours, okay? Now, I want to give a shout out, okay? I'm wearing my Yankees hat today, Clint.
Ooh.
First of all, the Yankees are looking better. They struggled for a while, but they've had a ton of injuries. Now, I have some problems. I'm a Yankees fan, but I have some problems with the way they play. I can't stand the swing at every first pitch. And, all I'm going to swing is do a home run swing, and if I get lucky, I may get a single off of it. I don't like that. Anyway, but my boy, Jonathan Davis from right here in Camden, he was playing with the Blue Jays. He would be up and down with them. The Yankees claimed him off waivers. He got his first hit in Yankee. Well, he's had hits for the Blue Jays in Yankee Stadium, but he got his first hit as a Yankee the other night. Proud of him. He's a good kid. He's an Arkansas kid. We need to root for him. So if you pay attention at all to baseball, look at the box scores, see how Jonathan Davis is doing. He's a outfielder. He needs to improve his batting, but he's a good defensive runner, speed guy, and like I said, good, solid, godly young man. Anyway, well, Clint, what else we got, man? What else we got? We got anything else?
Well, you brought up.
Okay, I do have one thing I was going to tell you about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going through my phone the other day, Clint.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of my contacts.
Right.
And over the years, you get contacts. You got people that you don't talk to anymore. I got people that have passed on from this world that I won't call anymore, or people that don't even have that same phone anymore, or whatever. So I was cleaning out a few things, and I started to think. I ran across a contact, and I'm like, that's the most random contact I have.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say the guy's name necessarily because, just because. However, through some mutual friends or whatever, I have the phone number for the guy who brought the Crips. Yes, Clint, I said the Crips.
And you're wearing blue. And
Wearing
I'm wearing
blue.
red.
That's right.
So.
They're wearing blue. The Crips, the street gang Crips, who is credited for bringing the Crips to Little Rock, Arkansas. Matter of fact, if you remember when we were in high school, HBO did a documentary on gang violence in Little Rock. And they did the Crips, and they did the Southwest Kings, which I don't know if you remember, we had some dealings with them that come up in Conway. Anyway, this guy was one of the main guys they interviewed. In fact, while they were interviewing him in Little Rock, like they had the camera out, they're talking to him on the street, and somebody comes by and does a drive-by. And thankfully that didn't hit anybody. But like while HBO's filming him, I have that guy's number, Clint.
That's impressive. Yeah, I don't have
How random is that?
Yeah, and I don't have anybody interesting in my contacts, because you brought this up earlier. It's like, hey, we could do this segment. I'm like, I literally don't know anyone that interesting. But that is wild that you have that guy's number.
Yeah, and like I've talked to him a couple times. He's a great guy. He's a Christian. He has an after school ministry, and
that's awesome. That's
in
great.
Little Rock, but he's like this dude, but he's hardcore. Like people on the street, you say this guy's name, they still like gang members and stuff, they show respect because this guy's a gangster from way back. Okay,
yeah,
and he's connected. I got his number.
See, and I would say,
I don't know what it'll do for me, but I got it.
The only guy I got that I could even compete with that would be MVP, Montel Vontavious Porter, the professional wrestler. I don't have, he's wrestling for WWE now, but I don't have his number.
Yeah.
Like we've met.
You could contact him, yeah.
I could contact him. I could message him right now on Instagram. Me and him are, I wasn't gonna say we're acquaintances.
Yeah.
I was actually going to go train with him when we were in Houston a couple of years ago, and he couldn't make it, but I was there. And so, but I trained at his gym. Super nice place, super nice guys. So yeah, I know him a little bit.
That just hit me the other day. I was like,
that is cool though.
I was going through there and I saw his name. I'm like, oh yeah, that's who that is.
I have Steve Mullins' phone number.
I'm keeping that number. Clint. You never know. I may need it.
No, not.
I may need it.
So,
I'm going to interview him sometime.
Yeah,
he's a good, nice guy. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's been a good week. We appreciate you. Hopefully, you liked the show tonight. If you're not a wrestling fan, I'm sorry. Maybe you were in the past, and maybe all mine were just about old school folks. Clint brought up a little newer. I mean, his were still kind of old school too.
Yeah.
Or long time people anyway. But hey, share this podcast, okay? Let people know about it. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you like our list. If you don't like it, tell us. We can take it. We're big boys. Okay? Who's an interesting contact you have in your phone? Who's someone in your phone you're like, I can't believe I have this person's contact info. Yeah. Like Clint, when I was given his info, I was told, do not share this with anybody. And I will not share it with anybody.
No. You won't even give his name.
I won't give his name, but I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Because I'm cool like that.
Are y'all jealous? You should be.
You should be, folks. You should be. So
I
anyway,
can message MVP on Instagram. Be jealous.
Be jealous. His name's MVP. He's the most valuable. Most valuable. All right. Thank you, Sean Michelle. I have Sean Michelle's number too, y'all. I can walk out to Sean Michelle.
Snap.
I can call the homeboy up, say, how's them babies doing? He's got them babies. He's a family man now.
He's with them babies in the middle of the field.
I can see, that's right. He's got them babies. One of them's probably playing a harmonica by now. One of them's probably hitting the drum a little bit. He's got them working because he's a music man. He's in Nashville. I think he had a show the other night. So if you ever get to Nashville, look up Sean Michelle, see if he's on doing any shows. But thank you for letting us use your music, Sean. We love it. Don't ever give up. Clint didn't give up because he's a champ. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. He's here, baby. He didn't give up. He got them crazy eyes, and homeboy went out. Done. Off of this.
I don't know about that, but it's good.
This is my boy, Big C. Don't get in the jiu-jitsu ring with him. He's got your number. Y'all have a good week.
Have a good one,
God
guys.
bless.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clint. Love you, man.
I love you too, buddy.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Oh, I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come.